The case of the Zodiac Killer is obviously one of the most famous unsolved mysteries out there. A man killed 5 people in Northern California between 1968 and 1969. And although he was never caught, there are some interesting suspects. There have been several movies made on the subject. Most notably is David Fincher's Zodiac from 2007. But this isn't the movie we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about The Zodiac Killer, a movie that was made only 2 years after the killings. But there's a reason for that. This is one of those cases where the story behind the movie is actually crazier than the movie itself, but we'll get to that in a bit. We've got 2 main characters here. Jerry, a mild-mannered mailman, and Grover, a womanizing, alcoholic, deadbeat dad truck driver. Grover gets into bar brawls and treats everyone like crap.
No one calls me a bald-headed bastard!
Jerry seems to get along nicely with everyone, except for a mean lady on his mail route.
How you ever got this job, I'll never know.
Oh, shut up! Quit picking on me.
He seems to have a weird obsession with rabbits, too.
Why are evil people allowed to live? Poor innocent rabbits like Leo must die.
Nobody should eat rabbits.
Meanwhile, several murders have shaken the locals. They seem to be totally random, and the cops have no leads. A letter arrives at a news station from someone calling himself the Zodiac, taking credit for the murders. He knows details that only the cops would know since they haven't released them.
It's madness. It's total madness.
We learn about a lot of drama involving Grover and his ex-wife. Apparently they have a daughter together, and she doesn't want him to see her.
You don't even let me see my kid when I want to, so stop complaining.
This causes Grover to show up to the ex-wife's house. She won't let him see their daughter, so he runs to the garage and says this.
This'll get me my half.
What does that mean? Is he going to saw his kid in half?
Ladies and gentlemen, for my next trick, I am going to saw my only child in half. I'm going to get my half of the custody.
The cops show up after Grover grabs his daughter and holds her hostage.
The Zodiac, that's me! I'm the Zodiac!
Case solved, right? The Zodiac has been found and killed. Not so fast. The papers report that Grover is the Zodiac, but this infuriates the real one.
I think this deserves front page coverage. I want headlines!
That's right. Jerry. Honestly, this twist would be good if it wasn't so obvious. Grover is such an over-the-top character that it's clear they just want you to think he's the Zodiac. Anyways, we see this weird ritual Jerry does where he communicates with his victims.
I am the Supreme Zodiac. I must not let the animal nature of man block the way to my spiritual progress.
He says he killed them to make them his slaves and that they're free now. It's weird, but this is never followed up on. The cops go to visit a psychic to help with the case.
I don't...
This leads to nothing, and is also never followed up on. Okay, we're going to get into the murder scenes in a minute, but I wanted to go over some of the stories behind the film that I mentioned earlier. Tom Hansen, the director and pizza shop owner, claims that he made the movie as an elaborate trap to catch the real-life Zodiac killer. He believed that the Zodiac was so much of a narcissist that he would have to go see a movie about himself. At the premiere, Hansen set up a raffle in which people could win a Kawasaki motorcycle. attendees would fill out a card that said, "I think the Zodiac kills because," and drop them into a large box. What they didn't know is that a volunteer was crouched down in the box, comparing the handwriting on the cards with the actual Zodiac letters. This didn't end up leading to anything, and since the contest was basically a sham, Hansen ended up just giving the motorcycle to a friend. Now I know what you're thinking. This all sounds like an excuse because he was embarrassed about how his movie came out. Oh no, we don't care about the quality of the movie, we just made it to catch a real-life killer. But, you know, the extent he went to makes me think it was actually an honest attempt. He even claims that he saw a guy who looked a lot like the police sketch of the Zodiac, but he couldn't catch him. He said he later received letters from the killer, but they were taken by the police. In the special features of the AGFA Blu-ray release, Tom Hansen says he wasn't scared that the Zodiac would kill him because he didn't believe that was his style. This guy seems to know an awful lot about the psyche of the Zodiac killer. Has anyone ever investigated him? Can you imagine how crazy it would be if the Zodiac killer made a movie about himself and then convinced people that it was an attempt to catch the Zodiac killer? That would be pretty amazing. Alright, so now that you understand some of the stories behind the movie, let's get back to watching it. So there are a couple kill scenes that might have been scary if the movie wasn't so cheap. Jerry shoots several people and stabs a couple to death, but the other scenes are absolutely ridiculous, almost to a point of being slapstick comedy. He shoots an old lady's tire out, offers to help her put the spare on, and then kills her by slamming the tire into her head. He passes another old lady stranded on the side of the road and offers to help.
Put your hand on the carburetor. No, honey, hold it tight.
Okay, I've got it.
He then starts dancing on the hood, puts her body in the car, and rolls it over a cliff. It's so over the top and silly that you can't help but laugh. It plays out like a mad TV sketch. He then goes to visit his dad at a psych ward, where we discover that his dad never loved him and that's why he kills.
Dad! Talk to me!
Outside, he pushes a man in a wheelchair down a hill for good measure. Man, listen to that soundtrack. Then the last 5 minutes of the movie are basically Jerry bragging about how he's going to keep killing and he'll never be caught.
I'll be seeing you.
And well, the Zodiac killer never was. But I doubt his name was actually Jerry. So it actually turns out that one of the main suspects in the Zodiac killings was named Gary. Jerry, that's kind of a coincidence, right? A lot of people would probably write this movie off because it's so silly, but that's exactly why I like it. It has this endearing homemade quality to it. I'd watch this over a pretentious art house movie any day of the week. It also reminds me of another movie called The Town That Dreaded Sundown. This one's really good and you should check it out. Thanks for watching.
In the late 60s, I was in a death cult with the Zodiac killer. I mean, a men's support group.